Hi, welcome to Cannes Lions 2015, another beautiful sunny morning, and we're at the SMG Terrace at the Majestic Hotel. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Mike Amour, the fairly recently appointed President Asia-Pacific at Starcom MediaVest Group. Thank you very much for joining us today.
You're most welcome.
How are you finding Cannes so far?
It's great. It's great. It's interesting. It's been about 12 years since I was here. Last time was when I was on the advertising side of the business, and the biggest, most marked change for me is, 12 years ago it was the ad agencies trying to outdo each other with all the events. Now it's the publishers who hold that title.
Yeah. No, so there's been quite a drastic change then that you've seen. So 12, that's quite a long absence.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the sort of changes that you're noticing in terms of does it feel a bigger event? Does it feel different in terms of the tone and the types of meetings that you're having?
I think it's not necessarily the size, it's the tone and the content. Yeah. Everything's now really being driven by ad tech, everything's been driven by the publishers. Those seem to be now the sort of predominant companies that are taking centre stage at Cannes.
Yeah, you mentioned technology, and are there any particular themes, particular trends that you're noticing that a lot of people are talking about, or from a content perspective seem to be really driving things?
Yeah, I noticed that one of the main themes that seems to be coming up this year is the convergence of creative and media. Where does one start and one stop? Which, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure I sort of really agree with, because they've always been intertwined. I think what's happened in the last 5 to 10 years is that with the acceleration of digital, with the way in which programmatic has appeared, the way in which data is now becoming so much a part of the marketers' priorities, the way in which we think about this, particularly when it comes to awards festivals, is something we have to look at quite carefully. Yeah. And I think if you go back to when the awards, particularly for Cannes, introduced the Titanium Award, when it was at a time when it was very difficult to provide awards for campaigns that were fully integrated. I think maybe now for the major award shows we need to do the same with media, so that we're not siloing social, mobile, different forms of media into buckets that live in isolation. They really have to be part of a much bigger integrated brand picture.
Mm-hmm. And this is your first Cannes in your new role. Yes, at Starcom, and you joined as part of a restructure in terms of where the agency organises itself globally. Could you tell us a little bit about how that's going, what the aims of that structure are?
Yeah, so historically the company was run more on a cluster basis, so emerging markets and core, dynamic and so forth. What we did was we felt that clients, when they are managing their brands, still tend to look at the world in geographic terms. So we reorganized the agency pretty much around that basis. In Asia-Pacific's terms, I look after India, Southeast Asia, Australia and New Zealand. We still handle North Asia as a discrete region, China, Japan and Korea. And the reason we did that is just because of the critical mass that we have in each of those geographies really demands 2 points of leadership.
Mm-hmm. And how are you finding it so far? I mean, how are you finding, I suppose, the changing nature of media? You mentioned that obviously you have a background in advertising agencies, so how are you seeing media?
Well, I spent quite a lot of my time on the creative side. The last 4 years, actually, I've been working on the experiential side, running a group of agencies which were focused on events marketing, shopper marketing, digital, and so forth. So really, it's gone from sort of creative to experiential to precision. So from my perspective, coming to the media side was the natural progression for my own career, and frankly, more importantly, where the industry is going. So the industry clearly, from a brand management perspective, media is where all the action is. The media agencies, I think, have got a better opportunity than probably anyone else in the industry to reinvent the future for our clients. And if you talk to the clients, they are really looking to the media agencies now to help them navigate an increasingly complex world where content and data come together, and where they need strong consulting guidance and value-add propositions in order to make sense of that.
And is that the nub of the message that you're hoping to convey, obviously, over this week? Because you talked about the publishers, the ad tech companies, they're kind of creeping into Cannes, and there's a sense that maybe the agencies need to more closely define their role going forwards?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, you've got all the rise of ad tech, which obviously we are taking a very proactive role in. Precision marketing, therefore, takes a huge level of importance within that, because you can start or buy whatever ad tech companies you want or partner with them, but knowing what to do with that information and knowing the points of data that intersect with where a brand is going to impact its consumers is critical, and that really comes to the whole point of relevance. And relevance for us in terms of making sure that we are getting the right message at the right place has to be one of the main prerogatives going forward.
Mm-hmm. From an Asia-Pacific perspective, obviously this is a global festival. The cream of global creativity is being showcased in this particular week. And do you feel that Asia-Pacific as a region is being represented strongly, that actually there's a lot the rest of the world can learn from what's happening in that region?
I think there is. I think it depends on which geography you're standing in. Obviously, Asia-Pacific is a region that can't be averaged. All the economies are developing at different speeds. They have different levels of maturity in terms of how brands operate within those geographies. And obviously, the relative sophistication of clients is quite different depending on where you're standing. But we have some of our clients from different parts of Asia here. They are learning a lot about new ways and new technologies, but equally we have some of our own partners like Tencent who are out here who are frankly taking centre stage and helping the rest of the world understand what it's like to create a company of that scale and influence in a market like China. Yeah. So, but I think from an overall perspective, Asia is generally pretty well represented in Cannes. I think it can always be represented better in terms of the long-term quality of the work and the impact that work has. It's always something that everybody can improve on. I think not just Asia Pacific.
Yeah, and finally, hopefully in 12 months' time, we'll be back here another glorious sunny day. If we were discussing what perhaps had happened over the preceding 12 months, what you would like the debate to have changed, what would you hope we were discussing in a year's time?
I think a couple of things. First of all, that from a business perspective, I think that Starcom continues to reinforce its position as delivering value-add proposition to its clients, new ideas and innovation. And continues to reinvent the future-facing nature of our industry. So, from a reputation standpoint, I'll be working hard to help Starcom deliver that in Asia Pacific. I think from an overall perspective, I'd like the debate to be less about whether creative and media are going to intersect and on what basis how they do that, and more about showing examples of best practice of how they've done that. And I think it's also giving clients a sense of reassurance. Most of the clients I speak to, they are looking for media agencies, not just to be media agencies, but to be agencies of the future. They're looking for us to help integrate the various different types of publishing companies and content and data, and to make sense of a world that is increasingly complex for them. So I think if we can help simplify the complex, we will have achieved our job.
And thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you. Thank you.